Hey everybody, this is the Hillside Prepper 552. Just haven't done a video in quite a while. It's been pretty busy with other things, so I just want to kind of get back into the midst of things here. Today's videos, you could probably see from the screen, we're going to be talking about La Palma and why this is such a dangerous volcano and why this is something that you need to be planning for. Now, natural disasters are something we should always be planning for. Hurricanes, tornadoes, flooding. Just recently, probably back in late August, my area experienced some pretty significant flooding that we haven't seen in probably close to 10 years. And this flooding, it's never this bad or this rampant. But with these weather systems, these tropical storms going through, that's something to prepare for, at least locally. Big things we have to prepare for is the wind, sometimes the snow, hail, and flooding. When you live on an island like the Canaries here, as you can see from all these news stories, you have a volcano like La Palma. All you get to do is type La Palma volcano into Google search, and you have these different stories that pop up. Now, this has been a media blackout in most of the United States media and some of the Spanish media, because again, as we've discussed before, probably, is that the media does not want to cause a mass panic. Sometimes it's a good thing. Some other times it's not such a good thing. You want to have people be informed so they can make decisions. I mean, if you were to look here, here's the National Geographic picture right here. I mean, it really tells you about the eruption. First time in 50 years, you have a picture like this. The La Palma volcano lava engulfs homes and swimming pools. I mean, just the way lava moves at a very slow rate, but on a small island like this, it moves very quickly. Oh, a lot of people would be asking the question, and there's a lot of people that do ask the question, well, how does this affect the United States at all? Why does this affect me? If you live on a coastal area, this definitely has a huge effect on you. This is a video. This is by Ingomar 200. This was done in 2012. This is the La Palma mega tsunami, and I'm not gonna go show it completely. You guys can look it up for yourselves, but just to kind of get the gist of the whole thing. Here's La Palma, just off the coast of Africa, and the things that they talk about the most with this. There's a paper done in 2001 that discusses this type of situation. With it would be similar to Mount St. Helens. You had that massive landslide when Mount St. Helens erupted. Well, this is going to be a similar situation in La Palma. Hopefully it won't happen, but to be prepared that it will. If La Palma does what it did 500,000 years ago, you're talking about 500 cubic feet or something like that of land falling 6,000 feet into the ocean. Why is it such a huge deal? If you look at Alaska back in the 1950s, if you look at any event where there was an eruption or some type of landslide, when that falls 6,000 feet into the ocean, that creates what's called water displacement. And it's going to do this type of effect with the waves. Out to sea, you're not going to see much of a increase in the wave height, but you would see 150-foot waves. If we back this up to the beginning so we can show the United States, you're talking an area here, the Northeast, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Maine, Rhode Island, they're all massively affected. Obviously, the whole coast is all these islands down here, Cuba, the Lesser Antilles, Dominican Republic, Haiti, that's all affected if a mega tsunami were to happen from this type of eruption. So why is it so important? Well, people living on the coastline, you get a wall of water that's 150 feet or higher, or in some cases almost a mile high. I don't know if it'd go that high, but you're talking 150 feet waves. It's going to take everything. It's going to go inland further, and it's going to destroy homes. It's going to destroy some of those buildings that are built for hurricanes. There are buildings that are built for hurricanes down in the south and in the Gulf of Mexico that are, always prepared for inundation from the ocean. However, it's not prepared for something like this. When you have these high waves, it creates an issue of structural damage. And this is something that would move inland. So when you're talking about being prepared for natural disasters, people on the coastlines, especially on the Atlantic coast, are not prepared for the threat of a mega tsunami or some type of large waves coming in. We discuss this all the time with hurricanes and other events, tropical storms, whatever, with inundation and flooding, any type of rain event. But to have massive amounts of displaced water come inland, there's not a lot of people that are prepared for that. And that's the scary part with La Palma, such a small island. It doesn't take much for all this land to go into the ocean and create this mega tsunami. Now, again, this video has picked up a lot of steam since La Palma started erupting. I think I said it was September 13th, but this is from Ingomar 200, and obviously this is a computer simulation at the flank collapse. So this is the maximum expected run-up of the waves on the shores of the Atlantic Ocean. Now, if you're like other people, you'd be asking, well, how long? Well, if you look at earthquakes that happen in the Pacific Ocean and different types of islands, sometimes, in an area like the Canary Islands, you'd be talking minutes. In the United States, you're talking hours. The estimated time is about 7 to 9 hours. Can you move inland in 7 to 9 hours? Yeah, you can. You can do something about that. Is there traffic jams? Of course. For example, in the region of New York State where I live in, about a 9-hour trip south is going to place you into the state of North Carolina. You're talking 12-hour trip to someplace like Myrtle Beach. With this type of mapping, yeah, you can on the eastern seaboard, you can move significantly inland in a 7 to 9 hour period. So, like, again, 7 hours is putting it right in just past Washington, D.C. if you're driving from my area, and 9 hours puts you into North Carolina. It's a roundabout. And you're talking about traffic, though. But what are the types of things that the government is going to do if something like this occurs? You're going to be seeing highways that are dedicated. One highway would go north and south or east and west. It's going to be open up one way, either to the north all the way or going westbound all the way. You'd have massive evacuations. You'd have warnings, but you're obviously going to have fatalities and casualties. You're going to have people, like in the state of Florida, that aren't going to have time to get out, or you're going to have massive traffic jams. You're just going to have people that aren't going to be able to make it. Now, the question here that I ask myself was, how does this affect things like the St. Lawrence Riverway? How does it affect the Great Lakes? Because obviously water is going to enter up into this area right here. This is where St. Lawrence comes in, and it goes all the way down right here into Lake Ontario. Would cities like Montreal be affected? Would there be flooding along Lake Ontario? Would it spread to Lake Erie? These types of things. What about the Hudson Bay? Hudson Bay is mostly an interior bay, but could tsunami reach in there? It's a distinct possibility, but tsunamis and water are definitely something that are a different beast. And La Palma is something to definitely watch. I mean, there's still a lot of people on the island. I mean, you can look on the sidebar here. You have destructive flows. You have the sun. It has a live stream on it. There's lots of live streams on this. This is kind of related to the way Hawaii erupted back a few years ago. However, if you think about it, with Hawaii, there wasn't that threat of all this rock falling into the ocean at such a speed and such a height. That's what caused water displacement. And again, with these news stories, the big thing that they're worried about is volcanoes. The big thing with the news story is, not just volcanoes. They're talking about the lava, and lava's gonna clearly, if you with these eruptions, there's a lot of different earthquakes that are opening up a fault line. When that fault line opens up, that's when you're going to start to see the rocks fall into sea. So this is something to definitely watch, especially if you live on the eastern coast. If you live pretty close to the ocean, a 20-minute drive to the ocean is a pretty significant thing. And I talked to my own dad, who's renting a condo down in Florida in a few months, and out of curiosity, with following this situation, I asked him, how far inland are you? And he said, oh, about a mile. And that's too close to the ocean in a situation like this. So when we talk about preparedness, we talk about natural disasters. We talk about volcanoes a lot, just because this isn't something that occurs a lot. But when you're talking about something that can cause a mega tsunami and landslides, this is something that's huge. Now, La Palma is not the only volcano that is going off. We have other stuff going on as well. They talked about Yellowstone, but when I last checked on it, there was not anything significant. But if you go to the Alaskan Volcano Observatory, you have Great Sitkin, Pavlov, and if I know I'm going to butcher this, but it's Semi-Sopochno, something like that. They're all on watches. And if you were to click on one of these, let's click on the Great Sitkin, your daily updates will tell you unrest continues. If you were looking at the weekly update, lava dome growth has continued reaching the southwest crater. Now, these volcanoes are mostly out in the Aleutian Islands. There's no significant population. However, again, if you were to have something close to sea that were to cause a tsunami, you would have it go into the Bering Sea, hit all those towns on the western side of Alaska that are isolated. You've got the Gulf of Alaska, it would be hitting the Juneau area. It'd go out to other countries, Russia here, it'd go out to Japan. So this is something to watch. And if you look up the Italy volcano eruption, which is Mount Etna, obviously this is something that's going on. Mount Etna violently erupts after weeks of calm. Look at the news stories. You have volcanic smog reaching Greece, and that volcanic smog contains sulfur dioxide, which can burn your eyes, burn your lungs, those types of things. So you would see advisories in those countries that are saying, wear a mask, wear glasses or goggles, something that's going to protect your eyes. And this is something that they are talking about with La Palma as well. The sulfur dioxide is going to reach the mainland of Europe. You're talking Spain is going to get hit, Portugal, France, all those superpowers, as New York Prepper would put it. And you should go watch his video as well. He's been on this ever since the eruptions started. Great source of information. He's a great guy. But, it's not just about ashfall, it's about the gases that are released as well. Now, the ashfall is not something that's been discussed a lot, but if you're thinking like Etna or La Palma, ashfall is going to be a huge, significant thing. Ash is the particles from ash are so small, they can combine with the moisture in your lungs, and it's like a concrete. It really is. It can give you respiratory distress, can prevent you from breathing. Ashfall, when it's cumulative, especially on rooftops, can cause roof failures, can cause car engine failures, just because the particles, again, are coming in and they're clogging up the ventilation systems. So why are volcanoes important? Why is La Palma important? Why is everything that's going on so important? Well, it's because, lava and pyroclastic flows are not the only important thing here. We got to think about the ash. We have to think about the gases coming out. We have to think about landslides that could potentially cause deaths of millions of people in a country that's further away. Again, La Palma is a small island, but it does not take much to displace the amount of water, and you would have high tsunamis. And again, it's not just going to affect the United States. It would affect parts of Europe, Spain, Portugal, or South America. Everything south and east of that, south and west of that volcano would be hit hard. The northeast of the United States, I'm not sure why that area would be hit much harder, but that's an area where we're talking 100, 150 foot waves. So that's going to do it for this episode of the Hillside Prepper 552. Again, discussing why watching these types of events are important. We're going to be back with more episodes now that things are finally starting to calm down. But as far as prepping goes, watching volcano eruptions that are, imminent or going on, or something that's affecting different parts of the world, could create the possibility of mega tsunamis, ashfall, sulfuric acid being present in other countries, and it can also lead to a volcanic winter, which would mean colder summers, crop failures, all those types of things. So for people who prepare by growing their own food, this could be a huge problem. They were worried about Yellowstone rumbling. I have not seen much information on that, and I've looked up the Yellowstone Observatory. They could be just hiding information. I highly doubt it, because they do monthly press releases, but July was a busy month for Yellowstone. August, it leveled off, and right now, everything seems to be okay, but all these other volcanoes erupting is enough to probably cause a volcanic winter, so that's something to consider. But again, been this Hillside Prepper 552, and we'll have more daily content and be back tomorrow to discuss other things. Thanks for watching.